everybody, how are you doing? A very warm welcome to my channel. If we've never met before, hello, my name's Alison and I'm a 50-something witch living here in Derbyshire in the United Kingdom in a small town called Chesterfield, and it's my mission to bring us a little bit of witchy magic and talk about everyday witchy life, everyday mundane life as well, and basically about all the things that bring us joy. And if you're a returning viewer, hello, it's so lovely to see you again. Thank you so much for being here. I love that you've come back to my channel and want to spend more time with us talking about the things that we absolutely love. And this week's a little bit of a different one, and when I first started thinking about this video, I wasn't sure how it was going to look, and I started off by thinking about a week in my life and the typical things that I do, both as a practicing witch and a working woman, wife, friend, all that kind of thing. But as I progressed, I kind of changed my mind about what I wanted to talk about, and I was thinking about the things that we do as practicing witches that can form part of our everyday practice, and the things that we do that might become quite routine. And the issue there, I think, is that sometimes we put ourselves under so much pressure to do witchy stuff regardless of how we're feeling, and it's almost like we think that if we don't do something, we're not real witches. We're just not. We're faking it. We're just being performative. And I know from speaking to a lot of my witchy friends that this is a common thing, and we almost feel like if we're not performing, then we shouldn't be even calling ourselves witches. And to me, this is so wrong, and is something that I think puts a lot of people off practicing witchcraft. Now, the thing is with witchcraft, your craft can look exactly how you want it to, and we've had this discussion before, you know, in various areas of my channel and my other social media platforms. And what I want to do this week, after everything I've said, is to look at little daily practices that you can do or, you know, carry out even if you're not feeling particularly witchy. And the thing I want to emphasize is that you don't have to do anything witchy every single day if you don't want to. You are still a witch. You can claim the word witch, the name witch, and not practice every single day. And that might sound controversial to a lot of people, and you know, whatever, I don't mind, I don't care if it does. But the way I look at it is that if you are doing something performative, you know, just to keep up an appearance or to convince yourself that you're a witch, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And what you do should be sincere and should be something that you enjoy, and it should be authentic, and it shouldn't just be a motion. It shouldn't just be something that you can tick off a list. So I appreciate that might sound a little bit complex. It isn't really. It really isn't. What I'm trying to say is that you don't have to be carrying out complex rituals every single day. You don't have to be observing every full moon, every new moon. If these things don't speak to you, if you're going through something in your life that is a big deal, you know, maybe you're going through a hard time at work, maybe you've been really ill, maybe, you know, you've got stuff going on and it takes your focus off your craft, it's fine. It's absolutely fine to step aside. Your craft will be waiting for you when you come back, and nobody is gonna come for you if you are not actively practicing. That's what I'm trying to say. And my craft gives me so much joy. I can't put into words how much it has changed my life and how much joy it has brought me. It's also brought a different perspective on how I live my life, and to me that's what I've got from it. And I hope that I've brought something to the craft as well, in that I've been given the opportunity to reach out to other people, other witches, and I really hope that that's something that matters to people. And in fact, I know that it is. I know it is, because you tell me that it is. So that to me means everything. And I wanted to just talk to you about a few things that you can do, really low energy things. You might do these anyway, you know, and if you have anything that you want to add to this list of things, because it is a list for the purposes of this video, I would really love it if you would share with us little things that you do for daily practice. And I know that there are people watching this channel who would love to hear that too. Maybe we've got some new witches here, and if this is your first time watching a witchy channel, hello, hail and welcome. You are very, very welcome to be with us. I'm so happy that you found us. So yeah, let's start and go through some bits and pieces. There are some little bits of filming that I've done during my everyday life just to emphasize the points I'm trying to make. But yeah, let's get started, talk about the little things that we can do, and I'll see you back here at the end of the video and we'll share our final thoughts. As witches, most of us have a kind of inbuilt love and respect for nature. And I know in my own case, it was nature that actually brought me to the craft. And I think that one of the most simple things we can do, and one of the most accessible things that we can do, is to spend some time connecting with the nature around us. And this is very, very simple. It doesn't have to be elaborate. If you can get outside, if you can go for a walk into your local nature, if you have some around you, I mean, everybody's got some kind of nature around them. If you can do that, that's great. But I realise that not everybody has the physical ability or the time or even the motivation to do that. And I understand that, I acknowledge that, but it can be very simple. For example, when I drive to work in the morning, I have about 12 miles to drive to work, and I take the most scenic route on purpose, because it means that I get to pass through small villages that have lots and lots of fields around them, trees, and I can take time while I'm on my way to work, driving nice and steadily and carefully, obviously, to look at what's happening in nature around me. I can see the changes in the trees, I can see the changes in the fields as the different times of year approaches, the harvest approaches, for example. I can see the activity and see, you know, what's happening, the changes that are happening. And in the summer, I can have my windows open and I can hear the birds singing as I'm driving. And this, I find, is really, really grounding. And some mornings, if I'm not feeling great, if I'm feeling particularly anxious or a bit apprehensive about, you know, what the day is going to be like, I find that it helps me bring me back to myself and to what I really am, which is, you know, a living, breathing force of nature. And I'm not just here to go to work and pay bills, basically. I'm here to experience everything that this beautiful planet has to offer. And I know that sounds massively grand, but that's what it means to me to be able to do this, is to make myself feel part of what's happening around me. So connecting with nature is the most basic and gentle thing I think that you can do, and it's very simple, doesn't have to be elaborate. We can all do it. There are city parks, there are, you know, local parks, there's, you know, grassy areas outside, you know, might be outside where you live, there might be trees outside where you live. Just sit and observe them and just be with them, you know, touch them if you can. If you can get out into local woods and parks, that's great. If it's a safe place that you can do that, but you don't have to. It can be much simpler than that. If you have any nature around you, please tell me, you know, how you enjoy it, what you like to do. We'd absolutely love to hear, so please do tell us in the comments below. I really believe in cleansing as a practice to give your home, yourself, your workplace a little bit of an energy lift. And this can be something very, very simple. It doesn't have to be elaborate. There are lots of ways you can do this. My preferred way is to use a cleansing spray. I use my own spray to do this. It's my own recipe and I trust it and really enjoy using it. But there are lots of other ways you can do this. You can use incense if you are able to use it. You can use sage if you enjoy using sage, or any other kind of bundled herb. Particularly rosemary is very good for cleansing. Not everybody likes to burn herbs. I've mentioned before that as I've got older, I don't enjoy the smell of burning sage anymore. It's I just find it a little bit oppressive, but lots of people love it, and I'm not saying that there won't be occasions when I do feel that it's appropriate to use it. But yeah, you can use other bundled herbs that you enjoy, so rosemary, lavender, bay leaves, particularly cleansing and banishing as well. So that's a very, very simple thing to do. You can cleanse your altar space, you can cleanse the front of your home. Is a really important space to keep clean, and I'm going to show you a little bit here of how I would do that with my cleansing spray. Just basically giving the front door a wash, generally with an actual cleaner before I do it, and then giving the whole door a spray with my cleansing spray, and being mindful about what I'm doing while I'm doing this and the reason to do it. But I find that it gives the lift, makes it feel a lot brighter. It's very, very simple. It takes a few minutes, and this is something that you can do on a regular basis if you feel like doing it. I also do this at my workspace, in my office at work. Usually at the beginning of the week when I go in, I like to get in nice and early, and I like to give the whole area a little bit of a spray just to lift the energy, make it smell lovely, and set the tone for the week ahead. So yeah, cleansing's great, very, very simple. Give it a go. If you need any more tips, give me a shout and I'm happy to add more in the comments. I know through conversations that we have on this channel that most of us love tarot and oracle. Not everybody does, it's not for everybody, but for those of us that do, just pull in a single card on a daily basis or even a weekly basis like I do is a really simple way to use the cards. You don't have to do a full 10 card spread every morning or every evening unless you want to, but we're trying to keep it simple. We're talking low energy stuff here that we are doing when we're not really feeling it. So a single card drawn in an evening or in a morning, and time spent with it really focusing on what you can see in the card is very helpful. It is for me. I find this very, very helpful. So I will draw the cards and I will spend time looking just at this card. What's it saying? What can I see? Who can I see? Are there any people in the background in this card? What's the colour of the card? What's the overall feeling of it? What can I see in the foreground? Are there any kind of are there any plants in the card? Are there any animals in the card? And I will think about where this card fits into my current situation. I'm not going to go too deeply into it. It's literally a snapshot. But when I've done that, I'm either going to put it on my altar or I'm going to pop it on the little card holder that I have near my front door, so that as I go out of the house, I can see it and it's there in my head. It isn't anything deep. It's literally a snapshot. You could also take it with you and, you know, have it with you during the day to keep going back to. But I prefer to leave it at home. I prefer to think about it later on when I get in and have a think about how this card has featured in my day and compare how I thought about it in the morning to how I'm thinking about it now. So that's a very, very simple way to strengthen your intuition and to build your relationship with a particular deck. Now, if you're anything like me, you will tend to use one deck for quite a long period, and that's definitely true of me. I always use the Woodland Wardens deck by Jessica Rue. We've talked about this deck so many times. As my favoured oracle deck. I always have that out on my altar. That doesn't leave the altar. And at the moment I'm also using the Cozy Witch Tarot that's been on my altar for a good few weeks now, and I'm really enjoying getting to know that deck. So yeah, just pulling a daily or weekly card strengthens your intuition, strengthens your bond with your deck, and helps you to get to know it better. And it's very simple. Now, I know how much we all love candles, and for most of us they are a prominent feature in our craft. Whether or not they are part of a ritual, whether they're part of a spell, or whether it's just because we love them in our homes. And we've talked lots and lots about different candles, but I think as a very simple tool, candles are fantastic because they give a small source of light. They are literally a light in the darkness, and they give a little bit of focus when we might be feeling a little bit fractious, or you know, there's lots and lots going on in our lives that's making us a little bit scatterbrained and unfocused. And just a simple act of lighting a small candle and spending time with it can help you to ground yourself, to focus yourself, and also gives you somewhere to focus intent for a particular time in your life. So again, I think this is a great practice to do on a weekend. So on a Sunday evening, for example, I'll be lighting my candle this evening and thinking about the week ahead and what I want it to look like, and the candle will give me that focus. Now, a plain candle is fine. I use spell candles which are designed to burn down really quickly, so you can light it and then you can either spend time with it thinking about the things we've mentioned, or you can be about your business, as long as you are practicing fire safety. Now, I burn my candle on my altar in the hallway where I can see it, where I can keep my eye on it, and where it's out of harm's way. But you know, practice fire safety. We all know how to be fire safe, and this is something we should be doing without even needing to be told. But it's especially helpful if you can anoint your candle or inscribe it, if you have the time or the inclination to do that. So if I was wanting to achieve a specific outcome for the week, I would inscribe my candle with words relating to that intent. And I would also use a specific essential oil or ritual oil to anoint the candle. If you are going to use oil, be very careful, don't let it come into contact with the wick. And if you are putting oil on your candle, I would recommend staying with it the whole time that it is burning. Now, as I said, spell candles are designed to burn down reasonably quickly, so you won't have to sit for too long, but be very, very careful with essential oils. Don't let them touch the wick. And if you choose to anoint your candle with herbs as well, which some of us do and I do from time to time, be very careful that it doesn't create something that can create a flash and burn your house down. Basically, just be very, very careful. But yeah, candles are beautiful. I love them, and I find that the very least kind of energetic form of magic is to use a candle, and it's the simplest, it's the probably the prettiest, something that we can all do and have access to. So I would highly recommend using a daily or weekly candle as part of your practice and giving you something to focus on. Some people use candles as part of manifestation magic. Some people use them as part of banishing magic. I do that myself, and I find that candle magic is actually one of my absolute favourite forms of magic, because I just think it's wonderful, and it was one of the very first things that I did as a practicing witch and loved it, and it's always stayed with me. So yeah, tell us if you practice candle magic. What do you use it for? How do you use it? We'd love to know. There might be some new witches here who would really benefit from your experience and your tips, so please share with us below. I mentioned spending time at your altar. Now, even as I said that, I know that not all of us have an altar space. Not all of us are lucky enough to have altar space. But when we say the word altar, for most of us, it kind of brings to mind a picture of, you know, really elaborate shelves filled with herbs and trinkets and bits and pieces. Or it can also mean an actual designated space where you celebrate the different festivals, sabbats, moons, that you decorate specifically for that purpose. And it can mean all of that, but it can also mean just a small area that you set aside for your craft. And that doesn't have to have anything on it. We've spoken before about how you don't need tools to be a witch. You don't need anything to be a witch. All you need is what's up here and in here. But most of us like an area that we can set aside to be a visual representation of us as witches, is what I'm trying to say, and to have on there expressions of what we love about our craft. So for example, my altar has lots and lots of herbs, because I love herb magic, and it has lots and lots of, it has, well, you've seen it, you know, and I'm going to put a picture in of it anyway. It has lots and lots of little mementos that mean the world to me and represent my craft to me. And it's where I keep all my oils, it's where I keep my ritual tools. I keep them safe and sound in the drawers. But not all of us have that, not all of us want that, but an altar can be extremely simple. And one of the great things about being a witch is that you can take your craft out with you. You don't have to just focus on your craft at home. You can take it out and about. And I have a very small altar, and you're going to see it in this clip here. And I take this out and about with me, and in this little tin are representations of the craft. So I have representations of the elements in there. I have little trinkets, little pieces of jewellery in there that are very important to me. I have incense in there, little bits of incense. I have representations of the elements, of my spirit animal, and all this is in a tin that's literally this big. And it's very simple to put together. You can do this, you know, to contain things that you want with you, to represent your craft with you while you're out and about. And sometimes while I'm at work, like at lunchtime, for example, I will go and sit out in the garden and I will sit with my altar. I will light a bit of incense and just sit and focus and be present, be in the moment, and be with these things that represent my craft and that make me remember that even though at that particular moment I'm a working woman, I'm out as part of, you know, the business world, and I'm very much, you know, part of the corporate cycle, if you like. I'm still a witch, and my essence is that of a witch, and that will never change. But spending time with this little altar makes such a difference, and it really helps me to feel grounded, to feel better, and to give myself a little bit of a lift on a busy working day. So I would highly recommend putting something like this together if you felt like you could. If you'd like me to talk more about this, I will do that. I did when I when I first started posting YouTube videos, you know, ages and ages ago. I did a little video about my portable altar, but it's changed since I made that video, so we could probably do with doing another one. So yeah, if you'd like me to do that, give me a shout and I will definitely put that video together for you. But I think that this is something that is easily done, it's personal to you, and is something that gives you a little bit of focus during your day-to-day life, and to remind you just who you are and how important you are in the grand scheme of things. We're very lucky that as witches there are literally hundreds of thousands of books that have been published about the craft, thousands upon thousands, and I think it's a wonderful thing to be able to do, to sit and read and to fill our minds with the words that these wonderful authors have put out there. But I think that in recent years reading has become something that's quite kind of a lost art, and I don't mean that we can't read, but what I do mean is that we've had less need, because everything now is in our faces. It's literally, if we need to know how to do something, we just go on YouTube and we look up a tutorial. It's not very often that we'll go out and buy a book to tell us how to do something. And that's quite sad. And as a result of that, I find that in my own case, my own attention span is virtually zero, and I find it quite difficult to actually sit and focus on a book and read a whole chapter in an evening, because my mind is everywhere and I'm trying really hard to rein it in, and to bring it back into focus. And with that in mind, I have recently bought quite a few books that I'm enjoying, and I've also recently subscribed to a magazine that I've always been interested in, and I'm really looking forward to that coming through the door in the next few weeks. But we're very lucky that we've got so many books about witchcraft and particular aspects of witchcraft that we might be interested in. So even if you can just, I think, read for a quarter of an hour in an evening or in a morning, whenever suits you best, and do that mindfully, it's better than trying to read like 4 chapters of a book in at bedtime and it just not going in, because for me that just doesn't work. So just sit and read mindfully for a quarter of an hour, even if it's just a few pages. I find is very beneficial, very simple, something that we can do. And also I find that having a couple of books on the go suits me better than just having one and trying to read it the whole way through. I'll read a passage or a chapter from one book one day, and then I'll swap over and go, you know, the other book the other day, and that works for me. Yeah, it's strange, but I definitely think that it's become a lost art, and I'm trying really hard to bring that back. So if you're reading something at the moment that you really love, please tell us in the comments. No matter what it is, it doesn't have to be witchy, it can be anything. Please tell us, because I'm sure that some of us will really, really benefit from, you know, knowing what each other is looking at and what we're enjoying. So please do tell us. I think that as witches, we are, I'm not going to say that we're obliged, but I think that acts of service are very important to our well-being, and by which I mean the way we treat other people. And this, I mean, it's not only as witches, but as human beings, as part of the bigger picture. But I think that as witches, we have a duty to look out for other people and to look after other people and to be a force for good in our community. You might not agree with me, but this is very important to me as a practicing witch. Now, I've heard witches on YouTube who I've dipped in and out of their channels, and I've soon stopped watching them because their ethos just does not resonate with me at all, because they do not believe that community is important. They don't believe that we have any obligation to our fellow witches and to the community as a whole. Well, I believe with my whole heart that we have an obligation to each other and to the people that are in our community and the wider community. That was a very roundabout saying. That was a very roundabout way of saying that I believe that as witches we should look after each other and our fellow human being, and there's no better place to start with that than in our local community and with the people that live around us. And I think that, you know, keeping an eye on our neighbours and being kind to them and letting them know that you are there for them is very important. Where we live in an area where there's a great mix of people, different ages, there are families, there are elderly people, and we're surrounded by, you know, a very loving, supporting, friendly community, and being part of that is really important to me, and I consider myself to be very, very lucky to be part of it and to be able to serve those people around me by, you know, helping them with things, or, you know, just being a good friend and being a good neighbour, and just trying to be as supportive as I can be, whilst also respecting my own needs and my own boundaries as well. I think that as witches we need the skill of boundary setting, you know, deciding what our boundaries are, deciding what we will and won't tolerate, and what happens if those lines are crossed. I think that's a really important skill, and that's something that my craft has definitely taught me. Maybe that's for another video, but yeah, I think that being of service to others, being helpful to others, and just being a kind person and trying to be the best that we can be within the parameters of our lives is something that's very important, something that's doable, and something that we can do every day without even really having to think about it, whether that's just checking on a neighbour or just dropping someone a message just to check how they're doing. I think that these things really, really help. They help the person to know that they are recognised and valuable, and they also give you a bit of a lift as well, you know, knowing that you're able to support somebody gives you a really good feeling. So yeah, small acts of service very, very important, very simple, something that we can all do. Is there something that you do in your local community that, you know, you're particularly proud of, and, you know, that really gives you a good feeling? I know lots and lots of us are involved in various charities and, you know, helping out at hospitals and things. Doesn't have to be on that scale. I think that starting locally, you know, within literally the people surrounding your home is the best place to start. But if you do any regular acts of service, we'd love to know about it. Please tell us what you do and be proud of what you do, because to me this is living embodiment of witchcraft, is getting ourselves out there, being the best that we can be, and being shining lights in the world around us. So that's not to sound grand or, you know, self-important, but I think that we should give ourselves a bit of credit. We've spoken before on this channel about the importance of gratitude, and having an attitude of gratitude for the simplest things, I think, is very, very important, and this forms part of my daily practice. And I think that if you can express gratitude to nature, to if you follow or work with a particular deity, or any other higher power that you think exists and is part of your craft, I think that that's a fantastic daily thing to do. It doesn't have to be elaborate, again, and it can form part of, you know, your candle lighting ritual or your reading ritual, anything that brings you into contact with your gratitude and how thankful you are for what you've had on a particular day. And as I said, it doesn't have to be grand. You know, everybody has something that they can be grateful for, no matter what's happening in their life. And I know that lots of us have got awful things going on in our lives, and that around the world there are some absolutely terrible things happening. And I acknowledge that the people who are going through these things are not going to feel particularly grateful at this time. But for those of us who are just living our normal lives, I think that that makes it even more important to be grateful for what we've got. And I think that expressing that on a daily basis is a great way to make you realise how lucky you are, and to make you see more things to be grateful for as you progress through life. And there are different ways to do this. You know, you can write about it in your journal, your grimoire, your book of shadows, whatever you want to call it. You can just spend time thinking about it, you know, the good things that have happened that day. It could be something as small as, you know, you had a conversation with somebody you've not seen for a long time. You finally, you know, bought that lovely dress that you've wanted to get your hands on for ages. You've treated yourself to something lovely. You've had somebody's given you a compliment about something, you know, your ability to do something. It could be being grateful for a skill that you've learned. It could be being thankful for the amazing lunch that you had. Anything. It doesn't have to be anything grand. It's just these small things that build up into a bigger picture that make us grateful for what we've got. And I think if you can do this on a daily basis, I think that it will really benefit you. You know, it's such a simple thing, but for me, this is probably one of the most important things that we've spoken about. And it can be very hard when you're going through a rough time, to be grateful. And as an example of this, you know, I've not been well recently. I've been in hospital, and on the first night I was in hospital, I was really poorly and not in a good place, but I felt so lucky to be there, so grateful for the fact that I was in this clean, safe hospital with these amazing people who were looking after me, and I was so grateful. And you know, as I was laying there, you know, feeling absolutely shocking, I thought about, you know, how different things could have been and how fortunate I was to be in this position. And I mean, that's quite an extreme example, you know, because on another day, I might think about how fantastic that, you know, that lasagna was that I had for my tea, and think, wow, you know, how lucky was I that I can just eat something so beautiful, and, you know, I don't have to worry about where my next meal's coming from, or that kind of thing. I know that these might sound fairly simplistic, and they're meant to be, you know. These are small acts of gratitude, small, you know, small acknowledgements of the things that we're grateful for. And I think if you can try and do that on a regular basis, it really helps. It really does help. It makes you feel better, and it makes you even more appreciative of what you've got. I really hope you've enjoyed these little tips for how you can incorporate little witchy acts into your everyday life. And they aren't things that you need to do every single day. They aren't things that you need to spend too much time thinking about, but they are, you know, they're quite low energy. And if you're not really feeling up to doing anything elaborate, there might be something in here that you can pull out and use for yourself. And I really hope that you found it useful. If you've got any tips that you'd like to share with us, we would absolutely love to hear what you do on a daily or weekly basis to keep you connected to your craft. And if you take your craft out and about with you, as we spoke about earlier, I'd love to hear about that as well. So please do share with us in the comments below if that's the case. But I think it's very important to acknowledge that whether you do these things or not, it's absolutely fine. You can make your craft look however you want it to, and the idea is that if you keep something simple, you will want to keep doing it, and that's what all this is about. This is the day-to-day stuff that we can do to keep us going as witches, if you like, but there's absolutely no pressure to do any of it. And I've said before, and I'll keep saying it, that if you want to step away from your craft for a time, it's fine to do that, because it will still be there when you're ready to go back to it. I really hope that you've enjoyed spending this time with me today. I've really enjoyed being with you, as I always do. And if this is your first time here, I would absolutely love it if you would consider subscribing to my channel for more witchy content and more day-to-day life stuff as well, because we've got an absolutely lovely little community here and we would love you to be part of it. So yeah, I also have a website if you'd like to have a look over there and catch up with my blog, and the address is www.FiftySomethingWitch.com, and I would love to see you over there. Keep an eye out on my Etsy shop this week, where I'm going to be putting my Lammas products up for sale probably later this week, and I would love to know what you think about those. I can't believe that Lammas is on the horizon already. Very much looking forward to the harvest season and all the joy that that brings. So yeah, please feel free to get in touch with me. You can drop me a comment below, you can drop me a message on Instagram, you can email me via my website, and I would absolutely love to hear from you. And until we meet again, I hope you have a really happy week. Please let me know how you're fitting in little acts of witchcraft into your everyday life. I would love to know, so keep in touch. And I hope you have a brilliant week. I hope that you find a moment of joy in every single day, and that I hope that you'll keep your light shining and that you will be safe and happy. And until we meet again, blessed be.